Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Ken?
We're going to talk about leading off this budget workshop with the results of 2020. As everyone
Ken,
knows, it was an unusual
Ken,
year.
before you start, could we have just a moment where we ask people to mute if they're not
Solid,
speaking?
financial condition. And I wanted to, bring your attention to some of the items that transpired in the prior year. So right now I'm going to talk to the executive summary. Is Nancy, and do you have that in front of you?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
The operations net income for the year end was $677,400. We had a positive variance as far as our expenditures were concerned, and a slight negative variance on our revenues. The capital spending came in at a positive variance of $636,000. As you remember, during COVID, the finance department, along with management, sent a letter to the board of supervisors that we were
Ken,
going
can you
to
hear us?
delay capital spending and defer any new hiring during that time, and we were going to monitor our revenues and expenses closely during that period. So we have a overall positive variance of a little, $1.3 million. So going down below to the variance to budget, the different expenditures, we had a positive variance in wage spending of $455,000. Some of those items that were affected that result were that we had one worker in the water department leave the township in January of 2020. We had one road department worker leave in January of 2020, and we did not replace those workers until later in the year. Also, the police department delayed their hiring as far as that was concerned, and they had a positive variance in their budget line item also.
Just a second. There's a request that everyone on Zoom mute themselves because there's blowback and feedback into the other members trying to listen. Or Stephanie, can you mute everybody?
Looks like everybody is.
If she can mute them.
Yeah.
It's better if they
Everybody's
mute, 'cause then
muted.
if they need to ask a question, they can control it better, but that's okay.
I have no sound now.
The public meeting.
Yeah, they,
now
yeah,
muted as well.
they muted Ken.
Yeah, I still can't hear Ken.
He's showing us being muted. I sent a chat message.
I sent Stephanie a text as well.
Mute themselves,
All right.
okay? All right, I hope we're good. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us?
Technology.
Can you hear us in the meeting room?
For once, I'm not at the Zoom computer.
Okay.
Let's continue. Let's hope I don't get any more texts.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Onward to winter and snow maintenance. In 2020, we didn't have any. We had a very light winter in the first quarter of 2020, and in our winter, we didn't have any winter events in the fourth quarter of 2020. So again, we had a positive variance there of $68,400, and that's including our supplies and wages also. So that was one of another thing as far as a positive variance was concerned.
Overtime and contractors.
And our contracted snow removers, we barely or if at all used them as far as during the calendar year of 2020. So that was another variable in that figure too. Fringes. We had a positive variance of $60,800. If you look at the detail, that it came out to about $80,000, a little over $80,000 as far as our positive variance was concerned. The two drivers were the workers' comp and our fringe benefits as far as medical is concerned. Since we did our delay hirings, we didn't have anybody jump aboard as far as our medical plan was concerned. So with the delay of hiring, we had less staff to cover as far as our fringe benefits were concerned. So that was, a positive variance too as far as that was concerned. Real estate tax revenue. In 2020, we had a very strong delinquent tax collection. We did over $44,000, which is a curiosity to me because we think that delinquent taxes it would be exasperated with with COVID and people wouldn't be paying their taxes. But we received over $44,000 in delinquent taxes in 2020, and along with our prior year taxes. So that was a very positive variance in 2020 as far as our revenue stream was concerned, was the collection and the submission of our real estate taxes. There was no interruption during the entire year. So that, like I said, was very positive. The EIT and local services tax. As you well know, we had a delay in our earned income tax during the first, second, and third quarter of 2020. We were concerned that we were going to be down, roughly about 8.5% during midsummer. By the end of 2020, we had tamped that down to like 3.5%. Well, we had a very strong fourth quarter submission as far as our EIT was concerned, and we ended up being off about. Let me check here. And we were off about $37,000 in our earned income tax to budget. We were up as far as a comparison to 2019, which was surprising. But like I said, we had a strong fourth quarter. Going back to October of 2020, when we did our forecasts, we forecast the EIT coming in at around about $4.3 million. Well, by the time everything was finished up, we were up about $117,000 compared to that forecast, which was a very positive variance as far as that was concerned. Local services tax. That ended up being down about $40,000. Due to COVID and the businesses being closed, they weren't collecting that tax, but it still remained relatively strong, and it came in at about $590,000 for the year, which was a strong amount, but a little under what we budgeted. Park and rec concerts and summer park and recreation programs and summer concerts. There was 3 items that were that affected that. First of all, the parks programs was off about $86,000 in the revenue side. It was off. The summer concerts were off about $52,000. And that, was just strictly because of COVID and us closing down our parks programs and our summer concerts. The golf outing was off about $1,400. That was on the revenue side. So if you go over to the expense side, the variance there was a positive $55,000 because due to the parks being closed and summer concerts being suspended, there was a positive variance of $55,000 in expenses for the year. So if you take these variables, the parks programs and summer concerts, they were down about a little close to $91,000 for the year. So that was basically what happened there with parks programs and summer concerts. Engineering spending, it was up, versus budget by $113,000, and that was strictly for the operations using our professionals as far as the projects were concerned and things like that. So we used our engineers extensively in 2020 for the different projects that were going on. And all other, we were a positive variance of about $52,000 according to the summary, and that's a miscellaneous line items as far as our consulting fees, or auditing fees, and other miscellaneous items that when you took and bundled them all together, they came out to a positive variance of about $52,000. Our fund balance as of 12/31. We started the year, I can't say this now. We started the year, according to that report, at 8.6, almost $8.7 million as far as our fund balance was concerned, and we ended the year at 9.5.
What are we looking at this point?
I'm sorry?
What are we looking at? Which document? The screen hasn't changed.
This document here. Yeah, this large document. Can you get that up there? It's basically the last page. It's the fund balance page.
Thank you.
Projected balances.
Thank you.
That's one of the pages that Ed's going to go over. I was talking about this 8.5 by 14 extravaganza.
Unaudited.
But like I said, we started with 8.6, 8.7. We ended at 9.5. If you go to the left-hand corner, left-hand column there, all the way at the bottom, it's indicating 8.6, 8.7. And if you go over to the ending balance, you have 9.5. One thing we did was that we took out a borrowing of $3 million. We repaid ourselves back the general fund for those expenditures that were paid out of the general fund to pay for the final expenditures for the building. And we borrowed $1.4 million for the road project out there at Pebble Woods. Not yet. Well, not yet. We haven't, but we've been authorized to do that. But overall, 2020, like I said, we came out in good shape as far as our financial condition is concerned. We have started our 2020 audit with the auditors. We've supplied them with all the information they wanted. And, I think they'll be surprised as far as our financial condition will be at 12/31/20. As you well know, we didn't have to lay off anybody. We didn't have to furlough anybody. Like I said, it was an unusual year, but Doylestown Township was resilient. Other than that, if you have any specific questions.
Well, I think we should explain the second column on the summary. I mean, Ken has talked about the variance to budget, which is all very
Yes.
positive. But the right-hand column is variance to 2021 plan. And it's important to understand that the two are different because the budget was done a year and a half ago, and we made a forecast for 2020 and as part of our 2021 planning cycle. So the values that we put in during that planning cycle already anticipated a whole bunch of this positive result. So where we got a let's say $1.3 million of variance to budget for the total year, we had anticipated all but 454,000 of it with the forecast that we did in 20. So that difference of just under $800,000 was already baked into the plan that you approved for 21. So when we go forward now and talk about what the impact of 2020 was on our long-range plan, you're going to see numbers more in the 400,000 range, not the 1.3 range. And these are the same variances, the same basic explanations that Ken has given you, but of importance is we've already taken into account 2/3 of it in our planning process.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, do you want to?
Any questions on the 2020 results?
Anybody on Zoom have any questions about the 2020 results? I see no's. I see
I see
heads shaking
no.
no's. Okay.
All
All right,
right.
are you going to move?
We're going to move forward then.
Moving on then, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item up is in fact that impact on the 2020 results. And I already put the answer sheet in the packet that went out, but I'm going to bring up the graphical part.
Ed,
And I will point out to you
this is Jeff.
that the dashed
Ed,
blue line is the general fund as we forecast it in the planning cycle last September and October.
I don't think they can hear us.
The solid blue line is where the general fund sits now. And that line is $417,000 higher. So if you think of the sheet of paper you were just looking at with 454 as the variance, 417,000 of that's in the general fund. And the difference is in both Parks Fund and in state liquid fuels, but it's small.
I texted Stephanie.
So I
I
wanted
think
to
Jen
talk.
has a question.
I,
Can you
I,
unmute?
I have a question.
Oh, Joe D has a question.
I'm listening.
I am wondering what the difference is between the forecast in October versus the actual in December. Okay, because we always have a doom and gloom in a 4-year or 5-year forecast. So I'm just wondering what the impact is on that forecast is. Thank you.
And that's what this graph is designed to show, that positive result impacts the general fund in 2020 by $414,000. I didn't change anything in the years that followed, so you'll see that basically there's a step up of $414,000, and then the slope of the line comes down in parallel with the previous forecast. I'm about to change that. I'm going to show you a couple things, but I want to at least establish the starting point. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Shaking his head, yes.
Okay. All right. We've talked about two factors, and we're going to talk at the end of this meeting about factors that should be studied, discussed, in more detail in our June meeting. I mean, at least that's the general output of this one, is to say what's important that we have to talk about. I'm here to advocate that we will need to talk about earned income tax. We had a budget in 2020 for earned income tax of $4.4 million. We came in at 4,380, but had forecasted at 4,262. So we came in, as you will remember, 113,000 or so positive to the forecast we made in September. By the same token, in September, we forecast EIT to be down a further 2.5% in 21. So now, if we read what actually happened in 2019, we came in at 4.3 million. In 2020, we came in at 438, and we have a forecast for 2021 of 4.155. So unless we are willing to believe that there will be, in fact, more layoffs that'll hit us during 2021, we probably need to spend some time thinking about what EIT for this year, 21, is going to be. To aid you in thinking about that, I've left this diagram at plan, but I can change it. If I assumed, for example, that we were going to come in flat for 2021, so 21 and 20 would be the same, 4,380. Take a look at the blue line at the top when I press the button. You can see that the blue line popped up. It popped up by now another $245,000. But the important thing is, if you also look at the two lines, they started to diverge. They're not parallel anymore, because since it builds upon itself, the EIT is going up more and more each year. If, on the other hand, I don't assume that it's going to be flat, if I assume instead we're going to have 1% growth, boom, up it goes again. So the fact of the matter is, we are now $1 million higher in the outside year than we were to start with, and we started at 400 high, so we've added another $800,000, or 650, excuse me. We are not in a position today to predict that. We have pretty good receipts year to date, but this is the small end of it. But by the time we get to June, we'll have more experience, and so we would like to come back in June and probably recalibrate what's going to happen in 21. But my expectation is, unless something disastrous happens at this point, it's at least going to be flat with last year and probably going to be up. So if you really want to drive yourself totally crazy, here's if it goes up 2%, and we normally focus at 1.75. You can see life is really good when we get to 2%. Now, I have one other factor which is not on the list. I'm going to put this back to plan. Okay, so there we are, back in parallel. We're back where we thought about. We have been working on something for the last couple of years where we have tried, we've always talked about this slope going down. We always talk about how the head count stays the same and we pay everybody more and more money. And we've been trying to come up with a way of figuring out vacancy, to take into some account the turnover that occurs when someone making high dollars leaves and we bring someone in at the bottom and the cycle starts over again. We've made a little bit of progress at this point. Ken has attended a bunch of webinars at GFOA, and it's looking to us like it is possible we could come up with a vacancy factor that might be able to be applied here. Again, I can't tell you exactly what the number is because we haven't done the work, but I'd like to show you what the result is. Right now, we have a vacancy factor of 0. So basically, the raises go on forever. If, on the other hand, and you'd be watching the same line again, so you see what the exciting result is. If we were to assume a 1% vacancy factor for years 22, 23, 24, and 25. We're not changing last year, not changing 21, but in the projection that goes beyond that, if we apply that 1% factor, look at that line pop up. We just picked up another $400,000 in the outside year. And if that factor got to be 2%, lo and behold, we've picked up, we're at 1.2 million. And if now we assume that EIT grows by 1%, lo and behold, we picked up close to $2 million at the outside. So the combination of these things are very, very important for us to get our arms around.
I got a question about this vacancy factor. Is that we lose a park guy for a couple months and then he's rehired, or that position's filled, so you're dealing with a 3-month vacancy factor, or are you saying this person doesn't work here anymore and then we're not refilling that?
I'm saying two things. Normally, there's a delay in replacement. So you have the gap, the funding from the gap. And many times if somebody is retiring who's near the top of the pay grade and we bring someone in at the bottom, the replacement makes less.
Okay.
So it's a combination of factors, but we have to dig into this a little harder because it's basically done by department, and looking at what the actual experience versus budget is over a period of time. We have a bit of a complication this year because I don't think we can use 2020 as much of an example since we sat on hiring for so long. The gap money would be too big. But we have to go back. We did a bunch of data in the years before that, but didn't quite lay it out this way. And I'm hoping that once we do, we can make something out of it. It basically doesn't change the process for looking at all of the personnel this year and next year in detail. It only affects the 4 years beyond that, which are all done by projection.
And it's salaries and fringes, it's everything, correct?
No, it is this.
No,
No,
It's
this
just-
is just salaries.
Just
Yes,
salaries?
correct.
Okay. Mhm.
but we're over.
And let's say we were giving a 4% raise and we put a 1% vacancy factor in. It basically just subtracts 1 from 4, makes it 3, changes the slope. It's a pretty straightforward concept.
And what about overtime? Does that impact? So
You
pull the
don't-
vacancy, is it on the other end with
No,
overtime?
you're just going to use the raw or the raw payroll. No overtime is considered. No court time is considered or anything like that.
Right.
So, but you have to realize we're always forecasting at full employment and continued raises, and that's just not realistic. Basically, the best practice from GFOA is to look at historical data. How many people left a specific department, whether it's public works or police or parks, and then you factor in that percentage. And, I've seen as little as 1.5% up to 4%. Some of the bigger municipalities, like the host that I was listening to is the director of finance for the city of Chicago. He's got 33,000 employees. They use a factor of 4%. So, but that's the range that I've seen. But you use historical data in finding your vacancy contingency.
Sounds good.
Right, so I think this is something we want to explore between now and June in more detail, but anything that will help us in the outer years would be helpful.
That's excellent.
All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit to the last part in my section. And this I don't think you have. Do you want to, somebody want to hand these out? I just put this together. I pulled out of the plan those things that are the major assumptions that are in the plan. I'm only doing this as a reminder so that we remember what it is we agreed to in the fall. I know we agreed to a plan for 21, but there was a 5-year plan associated with it, and these are the big things. There's some copies coming around.
You're got to speak closer to your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, you
That's
can't.
good, thank you. Thank you.
You would think I would know that.
You would think you would.
I need one of those
Thank
red
you.
lights.
You sure do.
There are 6 items on here that I just want to remind you are in the plan. EIT, we've already talked about, so I don't mean to belabor it, but that's what the stream of EIT revenue was in the plan. Number 2, we filled the positions that we had held back on, and within the next couple of weeks, I think everybody in that area will be on board. Number 3, we did put in a pretty aggressive growth of payments for pension MMOs. The line that's up there are the numbers that are in the plan for the two programs, the police and the non-uniform plan. And you can see what the discount rate is at the down there at the bottom. We're suggesting that PAC should come back in June and update us on what their latest thinking is on that. Number 4, we built into the plan a projected cost for a new community recreation center. Just under $5 million is the total amount that was included. We assumed that we would bond 4.2 because we assumed we would use the cell tower revenue to bring that down. And that 4.2 million created a debt service stream that started in 22 and 23. The building construction started in 22, but this really got rolling in 23 and onward. So that's what's in the plan. Roads and bridges, we're going to talk about. I bring it up at this point because you will remember Dave came in with an $8 million program, and after some conversation, we ended up at 6.2, a spread between regular road maintenance, Pebble Ridge, Woodridge, and maintenance on bridges. Obviously, we're going to talk about that at more length in a minute, but that's a very big part of the plan. Lastly, real estate tax. We have implemented a $0.75 mil increase in 2020. That's already happened, and in 21, excuse me, and in 22, we pushed the balance over into 22, saying we would talk about it at the same time we talked about what we were going to do about the new community center. But in order to balance the whole plan, there's another 1.575 mils of real estate tax increase in 2022. Obviously, it doesn't have to necessarily sit there. It could be spread out, could be different, and it has everything to do with what all we include in the plan. But those are the 6 big assumptions. There's obviously a lot of other assumptions, like we assume that EIT in most normal years grows at 1.75%. There's a lot of stuff like that in it, but these are the big pieces. And with that, I'm pretty much done with the impact of the 2020 results on.
Right, before we get
long-range
on
plan.
to the roads program, I need to alert the board and Ways and Means that the line item for the community center at 4.9 is appearing to be not realistic. That is a construction cost number only. We learned today that site development costs were in there, but that number is way low than it should have been, or we didn't have the information at the time. And that soft costs, there's important fit out costs and other fees that we don't really, look at until we have to pay them, is another 500,000. So this 4.9 is at this point not a realistic number, and I'm going to suggest that the number that should be a holding number, and that should be at least 7.5.
I hear you.
Okay.
I'm not ignoring you. It's just-
Okay, Dave?
Okay, I'd like to take a few minutes to go over the road program. Sean Torpey is here with me as well, the township municipal engineer. We're going to kind of review this together. We've been asked to, again, review the 2020 road program, but as usual, I'd like to take a step back and talk about the past, so what we've done in the past.
Dave, you need to talk into your mic.
You're
not clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
better? Closer. Okay, so we're going to jump back and talk about historically what we've done in the road program, and also where we're at today. So if you want to advance that first slide. Okay, so this slide right here is our current, as it's titled, the 2019-2020 Pebble Ridge Woodridge Utility and Roadwork Update slide. We developed this actually for the website and to update residents, but it's a good tool to talk about what we're doing and to quickly get a lay of the land where we're at here, and if this is going to work or not, I don't know. Oop, wrong button. Okay, all right, there we go.
Hold the button down.
Yep. So basically, what we're looking at here is the lower end of the township. The bottom road on the bottom is Turk Road. This is Bristol Road. The magenta road going through there as we come down is Alms House Road. And right here at the top is Brinker Drive. This is the Doylestown Mill. So this entire neighborhood here is Pebble Ridge Woodridge. It is the basically the developments that are being sewered at this time. We've basically taken a portion of, Ed, can you go back a slide? Is it, there we go. Okay. Basically in 2019, we advanced some road work to do road base paving on Pebble Ridge Road and a little short Shady Brook Circle there in the cul-de-sac. And then in 2020, we moved into more base paving, which is the, I'll call it the rust color or burnt, the dark orange color. And we did curbing as well as more base paving on Westway Lane as we move forward into from 19 into 20. Okay, yeah, you want to go to the next slide, please? Okay, now this shows basically our 2021 plan. And again, what we're doing in this neighborhood is multiple things. We're doing base paving. That's, it's like the layer cake. It's the first layer of paving underneath, then there's a wearing course on top, and then we're doing curbs. In addition to obviously the sewer work that's being done, as well as the water work that's being done by Dtma, and also the storm drainage work that's being done by the Doylestown Township Public Works staff. So there's a large amount of money is being injected into this development for 2019, 2020, and 21, which we had in as part of our plan. Okay. So again, this being what's going to occur in 21. Again, we are going to in the blue roads, we're going to do our final wearing course because their sewers are in, the curbs are in, and that's all ready to go with the final wearing course. The yellow up here, as well as those bordered with the red lines, is base paving and curbing, all down Old New Road, down to Lower State Road from Bristol, which is at the top, David's Way, Linda, Westaway, Buck, Willow, all that is going to be base paved. Curbs done in this section, and then we're going to move through final wearing course in 21. So we're trying to advance most of this work in 21 to wrap it up. The things that have held us up is we're behind 2 utilities, the sewer, Bucks County Water and Sewer, and DTMA with the water, okay? So we can't get in and do this work until they're out of the way. But we try to advance as much as we could, which is what we did in 2019, okay? Any questions on kind of what we've been doing for the past 3 years so far before I move forward?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So just, was the curbing originally part of the budget when we talked about this 3 years ago in 19?
Yes,
Was the curbing
Yes, it was.
all part of the budgeting?
yes,
Yes.
it was.
It was?
Yep.
Mhm.
Ed, can you move to the next slide? Okay, so this is my, what we're calling basically the road program data and then the budget versus actual. So this is my kind of historical data and the amount of trying to basically show everybody what is our historical amount of road paving we've done. And I basically tried to get as much data as I could. So I went back to 2008. So you can see the top, here's the years. Here's the amount of paving in miles that we've done here. I've added in the base course to the base paving, as well as the amount of curb we're going to do, and I'll talk about that. And as you can see in 2019, 2020, and 21, across just basically what the work is. It's regular road maintenance. As we get down, you'll see that there's Pebble Ridge, Woodridge work in here, and then we get back into regular road maintenance again. Across the top is what was budgeted, the actual, what we spent, the budget variance, and then reimbursements. So I really want to focus your attention really, again, going back to 2019, 2020, and then what we're going to do in 21 and 22. So you could see the amount coming out of 18, we just basically did, again, regular road maintenance. We did 4.64 miles at a budgeted amount of 640,000. We spent 641. We had $2,000 variance. We actually look like we know what we were doing when we planned that one out. Previous year in 2017, you can see we had a $6,700 positive variance when we did the road program. Going into 19, we knew we were going to be doing base paving and we advanced some. Well, we actually were going to do our regular road maintenance, which you can see that at one point, almost 2 miles right there in 2019. And because the sewers were done on Pebble Ridge Road, we decided we were going to advance some work and do paving in Pebble Ridge, Woodridge, base paving. So you can see what we did in the, sorry about that. You can see right here, we had a budget of $550,000. What we did is we spent $455 in our regular road maintenance program right there, but we spent our portion of it, and I'll explain that in a second, what the township's portion was. We spent $236,000. We had a negative variance because we advanced work that was budgeted in this line item in 2019, 2020, we advanced it in 2019, okay? So that's why we had a variance there. When I say what portion of that 2019 Pebble Ridge Woodridge base paving is, we have basically three things going on there: water, sewer, and the township. So we knew we were going to pave the roads. We also knew there was going to be cost sharing for trench restoration for those projects. So we actually split up the road, obviously, and shared the cost between the DTMA for their trench restoration and the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority. So we had that was our portion, was a $236,000 to pave those roads, which were our responsibility, okay? And I'll go forward, I'll show you in 2020 what our reimbursement was. In 2020, we basically assumed that we were going to do about 2 miles, almost 2 miles of base paving, put in about almost 1,700 lineal feet of curbing. We budgeted 1.2. We basically came in a little bit over at $200,000 over our budgeted amount. And what you can see here is based on that, we received $17,000 in reimbursement from DTMA and $70,000 from Bucks County Water and Sewer in 2020. Okay. That gets us to where we are today. Same idea, we're still in Pebble Ridge, Woodridge. We have, Ed, hit the wrong button.
You hit the wrong button, buddy.
Yeah, can you go backwards to that chart? Okay. You can see in 2021, we have right now 2.3 million. That's allocation for base paving, wearing course and curbing. We're anticipating to do, 2 miles, 2.5 or more than 2.5 of 2 there, and 1,800 lineal feet of curbing. And that's going to come out of that 2.35 million. Additionally, we have $250,000 to do basically paving elsewhere, okay, in other neighborhoods. And what we're hearing is from communications from residents and a large group communicate with us that they have concerns about their roads, and we know that. We know that there's, that the roads need attention. Pebble Ridge, Woodridge for the past, 2 years and going on 19 and 20 and coming into 21 has consumed a lot of attention, and rightfully so because of the sewer project and the cost of the curbs. So that's the program that we're anticipating to do for 21. Then what you'll see down here in 22, which is basically our projection for our 5-year plan. We have another, right here, we basically have another $750,000. Some of that is going to be doing in the Pebble Ridge, Woodridge to do the final paving. And then we have another $350,000 to pave in other neighborhoods, whether that's
350.
I'm sorry, 350, 400,000 and 350 to do other neighborhoods as we get out of Pebble Ridge, Woodridge. Okay.
400 and 350?
400 is going to go is we're allocating toward Pebble Ridge, Woodridge, and 350 for other neighborhoods. That's what we're saying. That's what we call this. Ed came up with this term, regular road maintenance, which is basically any other road besides a road in Pebble Ridge, Woodridge neighborhood.
Where is the regular road maintenance 250 going from 2021? Do we have that determined yet?
Yes, we have a plan. We have a plan to those roads. So I want to go back to historic.
Turk roads and those.
We were looking at historically when I came here, Mr. John had developed my predecessor had developed a 2017 road program, and in that 2017 road program that was projected out to 2020, and in that he had in Townview, Springs, Dogwood, which is off of Turk Road and East Road, as well as Omaka, Oak.
So that's what's going to be done in 2020?
Yes, and that is actually what that number is right there, that 1.63 miles, that is are those roads. And we're going to show you our robotics survey. Sean's going to jump into.
No, I don't know that we need to see that. I have questions though. How is the $17,271 reimbursement from Dtma determined?
Okay, that was calculated basically based on, say the road is 24 feet wide, whatever their trench width was typically 3 feet wide, it's what percentage of the entire road width is their percentage. So we basically split up the road by percentage of width.
All right, and the next question, for the 2022 plan, are the Pebble Hill roads included in that?
Yeah, Ed, if you can, in 22, go backwards.
Yeah.
Pebble Hill, I'm sorry. You're talking about Pebble Hill. Well, let's jump forward a little bit.
We've heard from numerous residents in Pebble Hill, so I want to have that question answered.
Go to the chart, please. Okay, no,
I would say there's a lot of neighborhoods
Where
that
do you want
deems.
Yeah, but Pebble Hill is what I gotta,
Okay.
for now. I know there are a lot of neighborhoods, but we can only do one at a time, basically.
So the answer to the question is there is no, right now, in 21, the 250 is allocated toward Springs, Townview, Dogwood.
You
those
said that.
roads. Okay.
We're talking 2022, Barbara?
2022, $350,000 could be allocated toward those neighborhoods. What we're proposing to do is we need to determine the best way to spend that money. Do we do base repair in there to stabilize the road? We went out and took pictures and looked at things. I mean, the road's bad. It's breaking up in areas, but not every inch of the road needs to be repaired. So we're trying to determine what to use that money for. So no, it's not allocated specifically in 22 toward the Pebble Hill development. And if you want to go to the next slide, it will just, everybody knows what that area looks like.
You said the 2022 number is dedicated to the Pebble Hill?
It's not. No, we're trying to determine it. And the reason why we're doing the road program is because we want to develop the next 5-year plan. So I talked about Mr. John developed a 2017 plan and moved it 5 years ahead. We want to use the data we have here with the robotics data and develop the next 5-year plan. And that's based on, you know, the information here on this slide.
Can we stretch out if you go back a slide, can we stretch out any of the Pebble Ridge, Wood Ridge between weight, base, wearing, curbing, and maintenance and curbing? I'm sorry, there's 3. Is there a way to spread that, to put maybe more into I think we've spent,
That's the question. I don't know.
yeah. Is there any way to spread that out so that we can hit the rest of our township a little bit more?
The wearing course, no, because those roads are falling apart. They're literally, we're getting emails and phone calls, people losing rims and tires and damaging their vehicles and alignments because of the conditions of the roads in Pebble Ridge, Wood Ridge. So we cannot, I would not recommend that we go base pave somewhere else. Could we wait on the curbs and wait on the curbs? Yes, but ultimately, I think we also want to do the final paving as well, because we don't want to just have wearing course.
It's just going to break apart if you don't see.
Yeah, wearing course is not meant to really be exposed for very long. That's why you want to put, or the base
Gotta
course.
finish off that sewer project.
We have to,
20 years in the making. Good.
Right. So look, we can put the curbs off, but they all go hand in hand. You know, so we can look at trying to allocate money to other places. But I think what we're trying to say is the money we have in the Pebble Ridge, Wood Ridge, the 400,000 plus it's the 350. We're going to get Pebble Ridge, Wood Ridge done in 22, and then basically use the 350 to really concentrate on distressed roads that need base repair and, you know, paving. We need to find a balance. I think
Right.
that's really what we're trying to do.
and
When will you have an idea about what's going to happen in 2022? What roads there will be?
So part of this plan, and that if you want to go, I want to advance to the next slide, and I'm going to steal Sean's thunder a little bit because is that this is obviously, if you look at the yellow roads, and that if actually, this is some of the metrics we got of the robotics, and I can go back to this, but I think to keep the conversation rolling, Ed, if you want to go to the next slide, this is really the impact. These are the neighborhoods that really, you know, based on the road analysis, that was me, Ed, road analysis, that need attention. And if you look at the neighborhoods that are circled, those are the neighborhoods we're hearing from. Obviously, we know right now, basically, this bottom corner right here is Pebble Ridge, Wood Ridge. You can see we're gonna pave all that. The adjacent neighborhood next to it is Doylestown Knoll. It's gonna need attention. But if we shift our way up here and look at what's going on up here, we know that these neighborhoods, we can't ignore them. The neighborhood right here is the Pebble Hill development, which we heard from about 20 plus neighbors who are really concerned about the conditions of their road. But I want to jump up here and say Trafalgar in Charing Cross needs attention. These roads are green because they were repaved in 2019. You know, we have Old Colonial Green needs attention. This is Fox Hill. We've had word from the neighbors in Fox Hill, and we've heard from neighbors on in
Writings.
the Ridings. Yes, sorry, the Ridings. Okay, so you can see what we're up against here. Ed, if you want to go to the next slide, we want to talk about the Pebble Hill development because I think this is important to know where we're at and what we're up against. These are just some pictures that Sean took, but I want to clue you in on this. So these roads basically bounded by Turk Road here coming down, Sowerman Road across to Pebble Hill, Edison Furlong at the bottom here, and then over to Pebble Hill. So this neighborhood in here, 7 miles of roads. We're estimating base paving and some base paving repair and mill and overlay, $1.5 million on 7 miles of roads. That's about, we estimate that our costs are about $170,000 per mile to pave a road, okay? That's kind of our rule of thumb that we go by. So you can see the one neighborhood that needs attention, what it's going to cost. And so if we go back and look at our road program, and actually, Ed, if you want to go back to the chart again, because I think it's also important, what we need to think about is the plan. If we look at the plan, 700, 700, 700, okay? We have $2.1 million allocated in 23, 24, and 25 to pave in other neighborhoods. and you could see 1.5 million gets us 7 miles.
Not enough.
It's not enough, number one, and number two is we have to be smart about where we spend our money. So we really need to concentrate on the major distressed areas, those ones that obviously maybe have high ADT. One road that maybe you know about that you use is Old New Britain Road. New Britain Road is got a lot of traffic on it. It's a community collector road. It connects Easton Road to the backside of the park and then over to Lower State Road to the college, and it's in terrible condition. So that's like a road that's on the road program that we should think about, not only because it's connects the communities. It also is just for, kids going to college and things like that. So we need to concentrate on those roads. So Ed, if you want to hop to that last slide real quick, because I think here's just more pictures. We basically just threw up more pictures to talk about, what the distress looks like, the roads look like. But if you want to keep going to the last, this is our plan. One more. There we go. Basically, this is our plan. We want to take the data we have and we want to evaluate it. We want to look at the roads with the rating system, which is that 1 through 5 scale. We want to determine the level of repair. We want to determine how much it's going to cost. We want to prioritize it for a 5-year plan. And then we want to come back to you and say, this is our 5-year plan. And based on the 5-year spend that we have so far in the budget, then we want to determine, okay, where are we going to go? And this is what we want to do. And I think that moving into the meeting and Steph, help me out here, June, we would like to have some type of preliminary plan here. High level, I mean, we want to spend a ton of time on it because I think it's pretty cut and dry, but we want to mileage, condition, recommendations, a mill and pave base repair, what can we do to come back to you and say, this is the nut that we need to take care of. What is the 2.1 million enough in out years? And right now we're kind of seeing it might not be. The other concern, I think Nancy, you brought it up, is oil prices and paving. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball right now. I mean, I think coming out of COVID, we're still going to see competitive bidding, but what we're seeing is that gas prices are going up, which means oil prices are going up as well. So there's going to be an increase. Will it be enough? Will it really have a major impact? I don't know, but I think we're going to see an increase in those prices moving forward. Now, will it be 21, 22? I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, we're going to try to do some more research and see if we can find more information on what the impact of it is to bituminous and paving prices. I know that I'm going to have my paving and material bid in front of you from the consortium. Year over year, our paving prices through the consortium are going up. Are they going up 1%? That's probably where they're 1 to 2%, but things are increasing. Nothing's getting cheaper. So we're just going to have to realize that we're going to have to program escalation pricing costs into our paving prices and our budgets.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Dave?
Dave, are you going to also include when you're looking at what's a neighborhood versus maybe what's a thoroughway, like just because I think
Yes.
obviously there are neighborhoods where we hear the most complaints from, and then Stephanie gets the complaints when someone pops their tire. So not that we determine what roads, but I'd be curious to see where it all,
We can do that.
where the problem areas are.
What does the plan require? Do you give precedence to those connector roads or not? I mean,
I think we should. I think in some regards we should weight our community collectors. Like Old New Road is one road that's a community collector. It's in terrible condition. It needs attention. But not because it's even before the sewer project. Old New Road was in terrible condition. It's a community collector. A lot of people use it. It unfortunately is a cut-through road because no one wants to go to Bristol and lower states and vice versa.
that makes sense, but you also mentioned New Britain Road.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, to me, I'm on New Britain Road a lot, and I don't see the problem, actually.
Well, New Britain Road from Central Park, from 202 to Lower State Road is in really bad shape. From Central Park to Easton Road is not so bad.
Okay. Gotcha.
And we can show you the metrics. And what I would say is I'd invite anybody, Jen, Dan, Ryan, or anybody that wants to sit down with us and go through it one-on-one. I know I spoke with Dan and Nancy last year, and we can sit down. I think we should weight the community collector roads a little bit more than some of the developments roads, but Also, too, you got to look at, say, how long has it been since it's been paved?
Is there any consideration of how long ago they've been paved as well? Because there's
Yes.
a little
Yes, we
bit
could
of
take- we
perception
could-
as
we
well,
could-
or no, it doesn't matter.
I think we should take all those into account. Yes, we should. I think we should. And then we need to come up with a plan that's, and it may not be set in stone, but at least it's a plan moving forward so that what we're getting is, what I'm getting calls and people are saying is, when are you going to pave my road? It's been 20 years, it's been 25 years. I've lived here for, some people are like, I've lived here for 30 years and you've never touched my road besides doing the oil and chip, you know, and which we don't do anymore, and patching, and they go, you know, your guys come in and do patching potholes, and that's great, and we appreciate it, but, you know, the cold weather cycle, warm, cold, it blows up, and it just keeps getting patched, and we need to, you know, they want attention to their roads. They feel that it devalues their homes when their neighborhood looks the way it does, and then, you know, Ed, you can roll back and look at some of those pictures, and this is the reason why they're coming to us. We see neighborhoods such as the Pebble Hill neighborhood where there's no sidewalks, there's no trails, everybody's in the road playing, walking, and they're saying, you know, when you're walking out in the road, you really get a sense of how bad they are, besides driving in your car because you're going by at 25, 30, 40 miles an hour. So you can see the distress that you can in the roads, and this is what they're concerned about. And this is only, I think, part of the pictures. This is the intersections that are just scratching the surface. Now remember, the robotics data is from 2018. So what we know is everything was classified in 2018 as, it's probably gotten worse, except for the neighborhoods we've paved.
Exactly.
So we're, you know, think about everything's degrading. And with the winters we're having, with the freeze-thaw cycles, we're just, the guys are just chasing their tails sometimes. And they're in neighborhoods 2-3 times a week, probably.
I'd be curious what the cost is as well that for sending our guys out to keep going out, you know, if somehow we can look at that.
Yeah. And the guys track their time and they say, you know, patching potholes, that's what they do, you know, and until it warms up enough and we get some, you know, get in there and then we go on to our regular stuff. But it also too would help them from stop doing, you know, if they run around doing that kind of work.
I would just point out for all the board members, the PSATS magazine, Township News, that just came out is all about roads. So it's good reading and good information on how things are changing. And there's a big thing on LTAP, which is a training program they do. I just want you to know that Dave has been doing a lot of that LTAP training. So, you know, he is up on what's going on. He and Sean have been meeting in preparing this information. And I think they've laid out a good plan to address this for your consideration.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what you come up with.
And that's our
after
plan.
we wait For 2020.
That's our plan. So that's where we want to head. So we're going to work with Sean and Pannoni to do that and try to come up with a, you know, map
you
out
just-
where we're going to go from.
Would you mind sending I would like a copy of the report, your report, just so I can look at it?
We'll try to, it's like,
Everyone will get it at the same time.
Well, yeah, whenever you send it, that's fine.
oh, the report.
You mean
are
the
are
PowerPoint he just did?
Your PowerPoint, yeah.
The PowerPoint you
So I
just
can just
did.
look at it.
Yeah, we'll send it out, a link to it. It's 250 megs. It's pretty big with the pictures and stuff, but yeah, we'll send it out to everybody.
Great.
Through Jackie. And then
One
also,
thing-
again, my memo that I wrote to the board, obviously, which laid out the 20 as requested, the 2020 road program. It also, again, follows, you know, the costs in the chart also follow what Ed just went through regarding, you know, our roads and bridges. And in addition, we are doing more bridge inspections. We'll be doing bridge repairs this year. So we've got a couple bridges outside of the Chapman Road Bridge, culverts and things that need to be addressed.
Any other questions for Dave? Anybody on Zoom have any questions for Dave?
It appears that you have people on Zoom that want to speak.
I didn't hear you, Stephanie.
People on Zoom want to speak. I think Jen keeps shaking her head. Jen?
Yeah, Dave, I was wondering, is it possible to get a listing of the roads that we're going to tackle maybe towards the end of the budget session, the ones that we want to tackle for the next year or the next, maybe even like our wish list for the next 2 years so that we can answer our constituents to say, yeah, your road's going to be up soon. I know you can't give a solid answer because it's all weather dependent and all the other things, but just to give us an idea.
He does have the list for 2021, right?
We do, we have the list for
Park
21,
Road and
which is, yeah. Yes.
Pamaka. There
We
is
do
a
have-
list for that.
And,
Do you-
we're trying to, we can put a list out of what roads we're going to do for 21, and then what our plan looks like. We can produce those roads for the plan. What I understand is that, everybody wants to know when you're going to get to my road.
Yeah.
Do that. Yes.
Okay, so you plan on getting that to us more towards the end of the year, the 2022?
I think that what we want to do is we want to come back to the board with a draft 5-year road plan, in June.
Okay.
To say, these are the roads, this is how much money we have right now in the plan and in the budget. This is how much we need to do, and then how much more money we need. And, kind of what we're going to work with the engineers to say, what is the best plan forward, which will hopefully give everybody an idea when we're going to start to tackle their roads. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Barbara, on the chat, Barbara Sperry has asked, and maybe Dave or Sean can address this, have the heavy effluent and stormwater runoffs in Pebble Hill been considered for the added wear and tear on the roads as well? I would assume that will be considered.
Well, I think what we always need to take into account stormwater, and we need to take a look at what obviously these high intensity storms are doing to the stormwater system. So we will take that into account. We will look at with Pannoni, the township engineer, if we need to make any improvements to stormwater system. Now, if we're talking, but primarily that is stormwater, so that's a clean runoff. Now, if we're talking about any other things such as failing septic management, that's a whole other item which we won't be addressing. But if it's stormwater, that's something that we'll look at. And I think that if people residents have observations, a lot of residents call us or send me pictures and say, this floods. Something's wrong here. This is wet. Something's happened. So we welcome, and if there's any information residents have, that they get it to us. So because there are eyes and ears, you know what's happening in your home, in front of your house, or down in your neighborhood. So it'd be helpful to do that. But we're going to address stormwater as much as we can, as we know what's out there. But
Hi, any other questions?
Yeah, I have one issue I want to bring up regarding the Pebble Woods neighborhood. With regards to the upcoming 537 plan that we have to review for sewers throughout the remainder of the township, this is one of those neighborhoods that is going to be on the plan in the next 5 years. Now, look, I understand their roads need work. And I grew up in a neighborhood that had their roads needing work that was put off for decades because sewers were coming. So I just want to raise that as a concern. If we're talking about doing a whole base paving of this area, and we're talking about coming back and doing sewers in 5 to 10 years, that's something we need to consider with what to do going forward, and a solution that makes sense economically to fix the roads, but not waste money having to redo them again.
yeah, Dan, I agree that what we need to be smart with, if we're going to do repairs, we do base repairs or we do spot repairs. And we look at areas. So what I don't like to do is I don't like to remove good pavement just to put new pavement down on top of it. So we should be doing spot repairs. We should be smart with how we're spending the money. But also too is are we 5 years, 10 years out in sewers in those areas? And if we think that we are, that's great. But if we're not, are we back in the Pebble Ridge, Woodridge neighborhoods where 25 years later, everybody's asking us, the roads are blowing up and everybody's asking us to pave the roads, and then we finally get to the sewers. So I think it's a conversation that we should, and that's something that Sean and I will take a look at as we evaluate those roads. But yes, we need to be smart about how we spend the money and make the right repairs.
Yeah, and I don't know if it makes sense to just do base repair on certain intersections that need it or things like that. I mean, obviously that's things you guys can discuss, but
Yes,
yeah.
we will. Thanks.
Or other questions for Dave Tomko? Okay, want to move on to Stephanie, what the planning process will be going forward.
That's absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you. Everyone has the 21 schedule. We're here on April 6th. We will be back here on June 15th at
At
5 o'clock with
5
another
o'clock.
work session. We'll then be meeting with our department heads and forecasting for 21 in July, and working with the department heads again for their 21 and 22 forecasting in August. In September, we will pick up our budget work sessions again on September 21st, October 5th, and October 19th. Anticipation of preliminary adoption of the 22 budget will be November 16th, and final adoption will be December 21st. So that is our schedule. That is what we will be moving forward with in the coming months. And thank you for participating in today's kickoff. I think Ed's going to quickly go through on the agenda what we're going to be looking for discussion items at the June 15th budget workshop. Did you want me to do that, or you want to do it?
You can go ahead.
I can do it, okay.
You're on a roll.
Again, the EIT results and forecasts will be reviewed. We're going to be learning more about the American Rescue Plan funding. As I discussed with some of the board and the Ways and Means before, we are anticipated to receive $1.7 million.
Can we use it for roads?
Well, I would love to say we
We wanna
could, and
find out.
I'm waiting for the regulations to
We
come
wanna know
forth.
that.
They did not
on
list
something.
roads specifically.
Oh, sorry.
So,
Infrastructure.
infrastructure, well, they focus specifically on water and sewer and reimbursement. So we're attending more and more, and we're waiting on those regulations. And as soon as we have them, because we all know we don't want to misstep because we're going to have to reimburse it. So we're, fingers crossed. I would love it if we could be using that for roads, believe me. Next, of course, the community center continued project status, road maintenance program, continued discussion, prepping for the 22 police contract negotiations, staffing vacancy factor, continued discussion. We'll probably hear from Ed Denton, chair of the pension, on the pension MMO cost coverage and updates from PAC. In addition, we'll hear from Brenda Bray, chair of the Ways and Means Committee, on any initiatives for 2022 that the Ways and Means Committee will have. And then other topics of interest, if any of the board members have anything they want us to look at, please bring them to the June meeting for those discussions. I have
You
nothing.
would want them before the June
Actually,
meeting.
Well, we want them, but yeah, if you have them before
wanna
the
know
June
what
meeting,
they
but
are
we want to be
before.
able to go over anything at that point in time.
ASAP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have some issues for the June 15th, get them to the manager the Friday before that meeting. So
Yes.
it's an agenda item if possible.
Right, but if it's something that needs study or analysis,
Now,
the sooner the better.
right.
If there's something you think we've missed on this list, then we'd love to hear what it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
There was a comment online before we leave from Jane Antile. Someone mentioned that around 20 people in Pebble Hills signed our letter. It was actually 50 and growing. It is understandable the sewer roads must be paved, but disappointing that not only are we getting sewers in our development, not getting sewers in our development. We have to wait for paving in places that are getting sewers before our roads get attention. And that's from Ms. Antile.
Thank you for that. Anybody else who's on Zoom want to add to what Ms. Antal just said, or anything else that we heard tonight?
I have a quick question. The budgeting software that we're looking at, when are we anticipating getting that up and running?
Ken?
Ken's got this.
We're going to be bringing a recommendation to the board in May, at the May 4th meeting, as far as what software we want to go with. Ed and I have, are finishing up, we've started preliminary meetings with NetSuite or Oracle. So, but like I said, we'll be bringing a recommendation to the board on May 4th.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. All right, I hear nothing further. We're adjourned at this point. We're going to adjourn to executive session.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you in a little bit.